The screeching of metal against metal filled the air as Michael gripped the handrail, his knuckles turning white. Time seemed to slow as he locked eyes with the young pregnant woman across the aisle, terror reflected in both their gazes. In that moment, he wasn't just a single father anymore, he was the only person standing between 27 lives and disaster. If you've ever wondered how ordinary people find extraordinary courage in split seconds, this story will show you why some heroes never wear capes. Before we continue this incredible journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful true stories that remind us of the strength of the human spirit. Your support helps us share these moments that might otherwise be forgotten. Michael Jenkins hadn't planned on being a hero that Tuesday morning. At 42, his daily routine was carefully orchestrated chaos, getting his 10-year-old daughter Emma ready for school, dropping her off with a kiss on the forehead and the same words he always said, "Be brave today, butterfly." Then catching the 7:15 train to his job as an architectural engineer in the city. 18 months after losing his wife to cancer, he had finally found a rhythm to their new life, even if it felt incomplete. The train was unusually crowded that morning. Michael had given up his seat to an elderly gentleman and stood near the doors between cars, scrolling through his phone to check Emma's lunch schedule. That's when he first noticed her, a young woman, perhaps 22, her hand protectively cradling a very pregnant belly. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes, but there was something else in her expression that caught his attention. Fear. She kept glancing nervously at a man standing near the opposite door. The man wore a dark hoodie despite the warm spring weather, his eyes darting around the car, never settling on any one thing for too long. Michael had spent enough time in the city to recognize the signs of someone planning something. His protective instincts, honed by years of fatherhood, immediately heightened. The train lurched suddenly, causing several passengers to stumble. The pregnant woman nearly lost her balance, and Michael instinctively stepped forward to steady her. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rumble of the train. "No problem," Michael replied. "Are you okay? You seem worried." She hesitated, then leaned closer. "That man has been following me for 3 stops. I don't know him, but he keeps staring at my purse and moving closer." Michael nodded, understanding immediately. "Stay near me," he said quietly. "I'm Michael." "Sophia," she replied, relief washing over her face. The train entered a tunnel, the lights flickering momentarily. When they stabilized, Michael noticed the man in the hoodie had moved closer, now only a few feet away from Sophia. His hand was partially inside his jacket, and Michael could see the outline of something that made his heart race. What happened next occurred in a matter of seconds but would forever be etched in the memories of everyone on that train. The hooded man lunged toward Sophia, but Michael stepped between them. In the struggle, the emergency brake was pulled, whether intentionally or accidentally, no one could later say for certain. But instead of slowing, the train seemed to accelerate. The conductor's panicked voice came over the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a mechanical failure with our braking system. Please remain calm and brace yourselves." Panic erupted in the car. People screamed, some prayed, others frantically called loved ones. Michael's first thought was of Emma, who would pick her up from school if he didn't make it. Who would tell her to be brave? The hooded man, momentarily forgotten in the chaos, tried to use the distraction to grab Sophia's purse. Michael, operating on pure instinct, pushed him away with enough force to send him stumbling into a row of seats. "We need to get to the front of the train," Michael told Sophia, taking her hand. "The first car will have the least impact if we crash." Moving through a speeding, panicking train car with a pregnant woman was no easy task, but Michael's calm demeanor seemed to create a bubble of order around them. Others began to follow their lead, forming an impromptu evacuation toward the front cars. As they passed through the second car, the train took a sharp curve, throwing everyone sideways. Sophia cried out in pain, clutching her stomach. "The baby," she gasped. I think I'm having contractions." Michael's mind raced. His wife had experienced complications during Emma's birth. He remembered the breathing techniques, the positioning, everything the doctors had taught them. Never did he imagine he would need to use that knowledge again, especially not on a runaway train. "Listen to me, Sophia," he said, helping her to a seat that had just been vacated. "We're going to get through this. Both of you." He placed a reassuring hand on her belly. "I promise." The train continued to accelerate, the scenery outside becoming a blur. Through the windows, Michael could see they were approaching a curve, one he knew from his daily commute was followed by a steep downhill section. If they hit that at their current speed. In that moment, Michael made a decision that would later be described by witnesses as both foolish and heroic. He told Sophia to stay put and made his way toward the conductor's cabin, fighting against the motion of the train and the bodies of frightened passengers. When he reached the front car, he found the conductor and his assistant frantically working the controls, sweat pouring down their faces. "The override isn't responding," the conductor shouted when he saw Michael. "We've lost all braking capability. There's a manual emergency system, but someone would have to go underneath the train to access it." "Show me," Michael said without hesitation. The conductor looked at him as if he were insane. "It's suicide. We're moving at over 70 miles per hour. "And how many people are on this train?" Michael asked. 27 passengers plus crew. "I have a daughter," Michael said, his voice breaking slightly. "And back there is a woman about to bring a new life into this world. Show me what to do." What followed was a masterclass in human courage. Using the conductor's instructions and his own engineering knowledge, Michael formulated a plan. They would need to slow the train enough for him to access the undercarriage emergency panel through a maintenance hatch in the floor of the bathroom in the first car. The conductor made an announcement asking all passengers to move to the left side of the train as they approached the next curve, using their collective weight to help slow the momentum. Meanwhile, Michael prepared himself in the bathroom, removing his jacket and using his belt to create a makeshift harness. As the train took the curve, tilting precariously, Michael opened the maintenance hatch. The ground below was a terrifying blur, the noise deafening. Using every ounce of strength, he lowered himself enough to reach the panel, his fingers finding the emergency manual brake lever. It took all his strength to pull it, fighting against the rush of air and the speed of the train. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, with an ear-splitting screech, the train began to slow. The deceleration was violent. Michael was thrown against the sides of the maintenance shaft, his shoulder dislocating with a sickening pop. But he held on, continuing to apply pressure to the emergency brake until the train's speed dropped to a safer level. By the time they finally came to a complete stop, they were just 200 yards from the downhill section that would have certainly derailed them. Michael was pulled back into the train, bloodied and in excruciating pain, but alive. His first words weren't about his injuries or his heroism. "The pregnant woman," he gasped. "Sophia. Is she okay?" She was more than okay. In the midst of the chaos, Sophia had indeed gone into labor. By the time emergency services arrived, she was already holding her newborn daughter, delivered with the help of a retired nurse who had been on the train. When Michael was finally carried past her on a stretcher, Sophia reached out and took his hand. "She's here," she said, tears streaming down her face. "We're calling her Michaela. After you." The media arrived shortly after the ambulances and police. The story of the single dad who saved a train full of people, including a woman in labor, spread like wildfire. But Michael wasn't thinking about fame as he lay in the hospital bed later that day. He was thinking about Emma, who had been brought to the hospital by her aunt, and who now curled against his uninjured side, her small hand holding his. "You were brave today, Daddy," she whispered, echoing his daily words to her. "I had to be," he replied softly. "I had to come home to you." 3 days later, Sophia brought baby Michaela to visit him in the hospital. The would-be thief had been arrested, and it turned out Sophia had been carrying more than just her personal belongings in that purse. As a jewelry designer, she had been transporting a collection of pieces to a client, pieces that represented her chance at financial security for her and her child. "You saved more than just my life," she told Michael. "You saved our future." In the months that followed, Michael's recovery was slow but steady. The train company honored him with a lifetime pass, and the city awarded him a Medal of Valor. But the most meaningful development was the friendship that formed between his family and Sophia's. Emma found in baby Michaela something she had longed for, a connection to family beyond just her and her dad. And Michael and Sophia found in each other understanding companions who had faced death together and emerged with a deeper appreciation for life. 1 year after the incident, they all gathered at the train station for a memorial ceremony. A plaque was unveiled, commemorating the event and Michael's bravery. As he stood there, Emma's hand in his and Sophia beside him with Michaela in her arms, a reporter asked him what went through his mind when he decided to risk his life. Michael thought for a moment before answering. "When you're a parent," he said, "you learn that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about being terrified but doing what needs to be done anyway. Because someone is counting on you to come home." The story of the single dad on the train became more than just a tale of heroism. It became a reminder that in our most desperate moments, ordinary people can find extraordinary courage. That sometimes, the strongest people aren't those who never fall, but those who get back up, again and again, for the people they love. As for Michael and Sophia, their story was just beginning. Two people from different worlds, brought together by fate and a runaway train, learning that sometimes life's most beautiful journeys start with the most terrifying rides. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that heroes walk among us every day, not in capes, but in work clothes, carrying lunchboxes, and whispering words of courage to their children before sending them off to school. Because sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is simply show up, day after day, for the people who count on us. And remember, in a world where you can be anything, be brave.